Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. The kitchen light cast long shadows across the room as I paced back and forth, trying to steady my breathing. The clock ticked loudly, each second stretching into eternity. John had been out all evening, and I could hear the distinct sound of his key turning in the lock. The front door creaked open, and my pulse quickened. I knew this conversation was inevitable. John walked in, looking relaxed in his casual attire, his shirt slightly rumpled from the night out. He glanced around, clearly unaware of the storm brewing inside me. "Hey," he said casually, tossing his keys onto the counter. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. "John, we need to talk." He looked up, a hint of surprise on his face. "Sure, what's up?" I couldn't help but let my frustration seep into my voice. "I know you went on a date with Rachel tonight." John's eyebrows raised in genuine curiosity. "Rachel? Oh, right. We went to that new place downtown." I glared at him. "I'm not talking about the restaurant. I'm talking about the fact that you went out with her, as if our relationship was something you could just casually disregard." John's expression shifted to one of calm detachment. He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. "Alice, you never told me we were in an open relationship. I never agreed to share what we have." I felt a pang of anger and hurt. "How can you act like this is normal? I've been waiting at home, feeling betrayed. It's not just about you going out, it's about the complete disregard for our commitment." John's face remained steady, his voice almost clinical. "I thought we had an understanding. I never imagined you'd take our relationship so lightly. How could you think that?" I retorted. "I've been nothing but faithful." This feels like a slap in the face." John sighed, his gaze softening slightly. "Look, I didn't mean to hurt you, but it seems we have different expectations. If you think it's okay for me to just accept this without question, then maybe you don't understand how serious I am about our commitment." "Then what?" I demanded, feeling tears welling up. "What do you plan to do?" John's demeanor changed, a smirk playing on his lips. "I think I'm going to give this a taste of its own medicine. Maybe it's time I had a bit of fun, too." I stared at him, feeling a mix of betrayal and fury. "So, you think you can just go out and have your own revenge? How is that going to fix anything?" John's voice was calm, almost resigned. "It's not about fixing anything. It's about making a point. Sometimes people need to understand the consequences of their actions." John walked past me, heading for the bedroom to change. I felt a lump in my throat as I watched him go. The realization of our fractured relationship sank in, and I stood there, overwhelmed by the weight of what was to come. As he left the house, I sank into a chair at the kitchen table, my hands trembling. The silence that followed was deafening, and I was left to confront the painful reality that our relationship was unraveling before my eyes. John's evening began with a deliberate sense of purpose. He had dressed in a tailored suit, the kind he usually reserved for important business meetings, but tonight it was all about making a statement. He met Melissa at a trendy wine bar, a place known for its elegant ambience and sophisticated crowd. The low hum of conversation and the soft clinking of glasses provided a comfortable backdrop for what was intended to be a night of distraction and a bit of payback. As he walked into the bar, John spotted Melissa waiting near the bar. She was dressed in a stylish cocktail dress, her dark hair cascading in soft waves. Her smile, when she saw him, was warm and inviting. "John, you look fantastic," Melissa said, her eyes sparkling. "Thanks, Melissa," John replied with a confident grin. "You look amazing yourself." They exchanged pleasantries before Melissa signaled the bartender for a round of wine. John took a seat beside her, feeling the tension from earlier that day slowly begin to dissipate. "I have to admit, this is a nice change of pace," John said, swirling his glass of red wine. "It's been a rough week." Melissa tilted her head, her gaze inquisitive. Oh. Anything in particular going on? John hesitated for a moment before responding. Just some personal stuff. Nothing I want to dwell on tonight. Let's focus on enjoying ourselves. As the evening progressed, John and Melissa engaged in light-hearted conversation, sharing stories and laughing over shared anecdotes. The flirtatious banter came naturally, with John finding solace in Melissa's company. The way she looked at him and the warmth in her smile made him feel like he was stepping into a different world, one where he wasn't plagued by the complications of his relationship with Alice. So, tell me, Melissa said, leaning in slightly, what's something you've always wanted to try but haven't had the chance to? John considered her question, a playful smile forming on his lips. Well, I've always thought it would be interesting to learn how to dance. Not like the cheesy ballroom stuff, but something with a bit more flair. Melissa's eyes lit up with excitement. I happen to know a great dance studio. Maybe we could go together sometime. John chuckled, enjoying the flirtation. That sounds like a plan. They spent the rest of the evening engrossed in each other's company, their conversation punctuated by shared laughter and occasional touches. It was a stark contrast to the tense and painful encounter he had with Alice earlier. As the night wound down, John felt a sense of temporary relief, though the bitterness of his actions still lingered. Meanwhile, at home, Alice was grappling with her own emotions. She paced the living room, her anxiety palpable. She picked up her phone, staring at the missed calls and messages from friends who sensed something was wrong. She couldn't bring herself to respond, unable to share the depths of her despair. The door creaked open, and John returned home well past midnight, his face showing a mix of satisfaction and indifference. He didn't say much as he walked past Alice, heading straight for the bedroom. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken words. Alice waited for him to emerge, her mind racing with thoughts of guilt and regret. When he finally did, he was less approachable, his demeanor colder. She tried to catch his eye, but he avoided her gaze. John, she finally said, her voice breaking, how was your night? John shrugged, his expression unreadable. It was fine. Just needed to clear my head. Alice felt a lump in her throat. Are you planning to talk about this? About us? John shook his head, his tone flat. I think we've said enough for one night. I'm tired. We can talk more in the morning. Alice watched as he retreated to the bedroom, her heart sinking further into the abyss of uncertainty and regret. As the hours ticked by, she could only hope that this wasn't the beginning of an irreversible chasm between them. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting soft stripes across the bedroom floor. Alice woke up with a heavy heart, feeling the weight of the previous day's confrontation. She had barely slept, her mind racing through every possible scenario. When she heard the shower running, she knew John was already awake. The realization of what was to come hit her with renewed force. She dressed slowly, her movements mechanical as she prepared for what she dreaded would be another difficult conversation. As she made her way downstairs, she found John already seated at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee in hand and a newspaper spread out before him. Good morning, she said, trying to sound casual, though her voice was tinged with apprehension. John looked up from his coffee, his expression unreadable. Morning, Alice. I was hoping we could talk. Alice nodded, taking a seat opposite him. I've been thinking a lot about yesterday. I realize I made mistakes, and I'm truly sorry. I know I hurt you. John's gaze was steady, his voice calm. Alice, I've been thinking, too. About everything. And there's something I need to tell you. Alice's heart pounded. What is it? John put down his coffee cup, folding his hands on the table. I know about your affair. I've known for a while now. Alice's breath caught in her throat. How did you find out? John's eyes were cold, though there was a hint of sadness in them. I noticed the little signs. The phone calls, the texts. It didn't take much to figure out what was going on. I didn't confront you sooner because I wanted to give you a chance to be honest with me. Alice's face flushed with a mix of shame and fear. John cut her off, his voice firm. It's too late for apologies, Alice. I've been thinking about this decision for a long time. I can't continue in a relationship that's been built on lies. The finality in his tone was a heavy blow. So, what happens now? John's face was a mask of resolve. I'm moving out. I've already made arrangements to stay with Melissa for a while. I'm also filing for divorce. Alice's eyes widened in shock. Melissa? You're moving in with her? John nodded. Yes. I need some space, and she's been a source of comfort. I know it might seem like revenge, but it's also about finding some clarity and peace away from all this. Alice's hands trembled as she tried to process his words. John, please. Can't we at least try to work things out? We've been through so much together. John shook his head. I've made up my mind. This is for the best. We can't keep pretending that everything is fine. Alice's voice broke as she fought back tears. But what about us? What about everything we've built? John's expression softened slightly, but his resolve didn't waver. Sometimes, even the best relationships reach an end. I believe this is one of those times. John stood up from the table, his movements deliberate and final. I need to start making arrangements. I'm sorry, Alice, but this is the way it has to be. Alice sat there, stunned, as John left the room. The finality of his words echoed in her mind, leaving her with a profound sense of loss and regret. The house, once filled with shared memories and dreams, now felt cold and empty, a stark reminder of the relationship that was slipping away. As John packed his things, Alice could only watch in silence, her heart heavy with the weight of the irreversible changes that were unfolding before her. The days following John's revelation were a whirlwind for Alice. The house, once a place of comfort, now felt like a battleground of unresolved emotions. John had moved out, leaving behind echoes of conversations and memories. The reality of their separation settled over Alice like a heavy fog, obscuring her vision of the future. Alice spent her days in a haze, moving through her routines with a mechanical detachment. She spent hours packing up her belongings, each item a reminder of a life she was leaving behind. The cluttered boxes around her felt like symbols of her fractured existence, each one a testament to the memories and regrets she was trying to leave behind. One evening, as she was sorting through old photographs, her phone rang. It was a message from a friend, Sarah, who had sensed something was wrong. Alice hesitated before replying, her fingers hovering over the screen. Sarah, hey, Alice. I've been thinking about you. How are you holding up? Do you want to talk? Alice took a deep breath and typed back. Alice, I'm okay. Just dealing with some stuff. I think I need a change of scenery. Might move somewhere new. Sarah's response came quickly. Sarah, that sounds like a big step. If you need any help or just someone to listen, I'm here for you. Alice put her phone down and stared at the photo of her and John from happier times. The image felt like a different lifetime, one she was no longer a part of. The weight of her decision to leave seemed both overwhelming and necessary. She had reached a point where staying felt unbearable, and leaving seemed like the only way to find a semblance of peace. The next morning, Alice made her decision. She packed the last of her belongings, her mind made up about relocating. She had contacted a realtor and found a small apartment in a quieter town a few hours away, where she hoped to start fresh. As she was about to leave the house for the final time, she received a call from John. His voice on the other end was calm but firm. Hi, Alice. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. I'm moving forward with the divorce, but I hope you're managing. Alice took a deep breath. I'm managing, John. I'm actually moving out of town. I think it's best for me to start over somewhere new. John's voice was tinged with surprise. You're leaving. Just like that, Alice replied. I need to get away from everything here. It's too painful to stay. There was a moment of silence before John spoke again. I understand. I guess we're both trying to find our own ways through this. I wish you the best. Alice's voice softened. Thank you, John. I hope you find what you're looking for, too. They exchanged a few more pleasantries before ending the call. Alice felt a mixture of relief and sadness as she finished loading her car. She took one last look at the house, her heart heavy with the weight of the past but hopeful for the future. As she drove away, the familiar streets and landmarks faded in her rearview mirror. The journey ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Alice felt a glimmer of hope. The road stretched out before her, a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. In the quiet solitude of her car, Alice allowed herself to embrace the idea of a fresh start. The pain of her past was still present, but it was now accompanied by a cautious optimism. She knew it would take time to heal, but she was determined to face whatever came next with a renewed sense of purpose and